host for this morning, the great and powerful Mike Buffalo!
Oh my God. Good morning, Creative Mornings, Monterey. I'm Mike Buffalo, and I'm so excited to see so many friendly new faces and old friends here at Creative Mornings. We've got a show that's going to be a little different than what you might be used to if you've come here before. Our speaker is going to do a little bit more engagement. He's going to get you guys thinking, talking, sharing, being vulnerable, maybe a little crying today. But before we get into that, we're going to just acknowledge everybody who's new. If you're new, could you please raise your hand? Raise your hand. Awesome. Thanks for coming. That's what this community is all about. You come once and then bring a friend, and soon we'll have more people that can fit in this room, and we'll have to fill the live stream room. So thank you, everybody, coming in on live stream. So we might make some mistakes today because this is unrehearsed. But that's okay, because Jules, you can fix it. Jules Hart's my editor of 10 years with House of 8 Media, and I couldn't do anything without her. So thank you, Jules. So, I'm a native to the Monterey Peninsula, 4th generation Monterey Sicilian, and I love cinematography. Unfortunately, I can't always be in front of the camera. I've been stuck behind the camera until today. So I'm happy to be here, but I spent a lifetime in the theater, here on the peninsula and then abroad, San Francisco and LA, and now I'm back because this is a great community, and everything I've come up with, I've been welcomed to open arms. This is a place for new ideas, for expanding our culture, and letting things grow with creative people. And so that's why I'm excited to meet everybody here, and I hope that you all can meet each other and network with each other. So this is also a place for eyeballs. Eyeballs is the new real estate. This could be you. Your eyeballs could be up here, and I'm going to show you an example of some of the commercials that we're going to be placing here in front of your eyeballs and our live stream eyeballs on the world stage. A few acknowledgments before we get started. Wolfhead Industries is providing our cameras. That's Travis Genske. He's a world-class DP, Director of Photography, stationed in Pacific Grove. And he works with big old companies like Joby, if you ever see anything by Joby, a lot of car commercials and stuff like that. He's got big rigs, big cameras, and he lent us a couple of his smaller cameras. And but he's sick today, and he let me pick up the cameras anyway. So thank you, Travis. WaveStreet Studios is our home, has been since the beginning, and we love it here. This place was hand-built, and it's run by a family. And we'd like to thank Rhett and Judy and Foster for this place. All right, we're gonna get started with our first commercial spot. There's a new hotel in town, and I got to go to that hotel and film it over 3 years, visiting 12 times, and make one 2-minute spot. Prices start at $1,200 a night. Just kidding. Actually, some of those bigger suites do actually cost $1,200 a night. So the Stillwell Hotel, tell your friends, and whenever they come into town, you can stay there. Charles Gruel is the designer, collaborator of that hotel, and it was wonderful to work with him and to see a project get completed over a long period of time. And I really enjoyed that, like filming something from the sky and from the ground and mimicking my camera movements, like over time, kind of mapping that out. It was really exciting. So if any of you have any big construction projects, like hotels or big houses, and you want a video like that, like I'd love to do that again. All right. So one of the things that we want to do to make this sustainable is to show commercial spots. So if you've got a professional video of any kind, you want to put it up here at the start of one of our shows, it's just $50, and our goal is for $500 a month to help make this sustainable. That goes to video editing, and it goes to an honorarium for the space. Those coffees, actually, they cost money for the coffee grounds and all the cups and the creamer and everything. Like, it costs money to run the show. So we're trying to do that. We're not a nonprofit, so you don't get a tax receipt, but that's all right. This month's theme is ritual. And I thought, who better to ensoul the moment than a mentor of mine, Rita, Bone Woman.
When we talk of ritual, we are talking about the interweaving of individual persons and gifts into a community that interacts with the forces of the natural world. We are talking of a gathering of people with a clear healing vision and a trusting intent toward the forces of the invisible world. Malidoma Somé. Malidoma was my teacher for many, many years. We met 25 years ago, and I worked with him for over 10 years. And Malidoma was a diviner, a medicine man, an elder, a wise one that taught so many of us in America how to come home to the power of ritual and healing ritual and ritual in community. My name is Rita. I'm a mythologist, a storyteller, a ritualist, a diviner, an outsider artist, and I have been prescribing healing ritual work for folks for well over 35 years now. And I've been blessed to know Michael Buffo since he was in diapers. Michael has been a wise soul for as long as I have known him. And he has come to me many times asking for assistance for healing rituals, not for himself, but for the community. And that is the beauty of what he's up to right now with Creative Mornings is, again, he's opening a space for the community to come and to listen to those that want to offer their wisdom, their healing, their gifts. And you know, what's happening right now as you are all sitting in this room together is that you are in a healing ritual space, and we can't do healing alone. And so many of us have gone through initiation. So many of us have stood at the crossroads of our lives where everything changed, the loss of a loved one, just, you know, so many things, you know, the losing our health. It's just like so many things can happen in our lives, and yet the world wants us just to carry on as if nothing happened. But yet we get stuck in those crossroads sometimes, and we keep trying to figure it out with therapy. But sometimes what it takes is to go into ritual space and to come together with your community, that they hold that space for you, that you can finally step out of that crossroads, because in that ritual space, you have called in all of the guides, all of the gods, the goddesses, the invisibles, working with the nature spirits, the water spirits, the mountain spirits. It is where all of the great mystery comes together. And it's like a tsunami of energy that moves you out of this place that you are ready to let go of, to be reborn and to step into the next phase of your life. And this is what y'all are up to this morning. And I apologize for not being there, as in fact, I'm doing a large ritual with a group of women this afternoon. I'm in preparation for that. And I don't know Arnold personally. I have heard of breakthroughs good work for so many years. And I wish to thank Breakthrough, the men's community, for all that you have done for the men in our community. And thanking you and thanking Michael, and just an honor to introduce this beautiful rebirthing of the creative community, and so many blessings to all of you. Bye-bye.
Good morning.
These are not being ISO recorded, so it's just
Yes, it happens so fast. I wanted to take a quick second to acknowledge George Woods over here, who is. I think it took us about 10 seconds to decide we were twins separated at birth, which is funny because I have a twin brother.
Yeah.
So
Why did you get the hair?
call dibs, man. You know about dibs?
I know about dibs.
You know about dibs.
I know about dibs.
Dibs is a thing in the world. I just want to say thanks to Mike for inviting me, and thanks to everybody for coming out. Those of you who know me, you'll get your $20 afterwards. Those of you who don't, thanks for taking a chance on listening to some guy you've never heard of. I appreciate that very much. I want to start just by saying, who is this guy? Why the hell am I up here? That's still, you might not look the same because the nose was much cuter back then, but this is me. And everywhere I go, whatever I do, even when it's serious, I want to have a little fun with it. I want to bring a little joy to it, because I think even when life is challenging, we can have joy in the journey. We can have joy in knowing our resilience, tapping that inner well of who we are, and moving into something that might be bigger than we thought we were. I'm going to talk about the hero's journey today, which is, I'm so amazed that that introductory video was done in complete isolation from me, and as I watched, I went, yeah, right on. This is going to be great. I believe we're all on a journey towards a return to our authentic state. I believe people come into the world full, wide open, ready to meet it, but naive. And life brings us challenges, and the hero's journey is about taking in the wisdom of those challenges and then becoming something more, tapping into all of our gifts and then giving those gifts back to community. I believe ritual plays into this. I'm going to talk about how I think a lack of ritual in our society leads to some of the problems we have, some of the challenges that we, particularly in the West, have. And then a little bit about the fact that a community consciousness is what I believe is needed to heal. My experience working with men is that you can DIY this all day long, but when you put yourself in a group together and you listen and you are open to seeing yourself reflected back and open to the gift that one is to the other, which is even more of a challenge, you receive a lot of blessings. So today we're going to talk about ritual a little bit. And being the nerdy, wordy guy I am, I like, well, there's got to be the root of right in there. And so we're going to talk about something that's sacred and important. And the first rites that come to my mind are not the best ones. I mean, rites of passage are great, but funeral rites, sacrificial rites, but the connotation is always the same. It's an important moment, and it's a marker for something where we're moving from one state to another. A thing has happened, we have transformed, and ultimately, it's all about meaning. We have rituals that we do every day. We have morning rituals, we have religious rituals, we have family rituals. One of the ones when I was a kid was, we would drive up from San Diego to see my aunt, and at least to my mind, she didn't know when we were coming. And we would just walk in the door. Where the hell's the coffee, Mary? And I loved being the one who could shout that. So I was always first to the door because I got to say hell when I was 5. But rituals remind us of something bigger than ourselves. They connect us in common purpose with a community. And they also can move us into an other than ordinary state of consciousness where we can receive something important. When I meditate in the morning, I sit down on my particular little tuffet in a particular way. I ring my particular chime. And by the time I've hit the timer and started my meditation, I'm already moving into that space. And that's what rituals can do for us. And by the way, I had like 30 minutes of extra material. So if I pause to look, it's like I'm editing on the fly here as we go. I'm going to talk about the hero's journey today, the heroine's journey, the human journey. And it starts with the precious child. The precious child, this, by the way, was the most precious of all the children, right? Still look pretty good, right? I remember that stuffed animal, too, which is crazy. I've loved this song for years, and like most deeply meaningful things, I get different things out of it from time to time. And recently, the last stanza just landed on me. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. This child knew it was absolute love, knew that it was absolutely lovable. Children are loved so much so that we can't help but love them. It's inherent in their nature. Children are completely open. They receive everything fully. They're essentially empathic. They know what's going on with us without language. And yet as we grow, we unlearn our lovability and we unlearn our ability to receive love based on the experiences we have. And so I want to start, the journey always begins with the naive child who just sees what's best in the world. The hero's journey includes woundings. And in the West, I hear a lot of talk about parent wounds, the mother wound, the father wound. But essentially, the child receives a wound. And the wound is really the loss of the naivete. The loss of that, it's so easy, because it ultimately is a challenge. Parents respond to life events in their lives towards their children. Children receive it and make childlike assumptions from a place of, I create everything that happens in my universe. And they start to make decisions about what works and what doesn't work. So as a child, if I didn't think something worked, I put that part of me down in my basement. If something did work, even if it didn't feel authentic, I accentuated that part of me. And I became sort of a persona out in the world. In many cultures, wounding is ritualized and there's context for it. Children are taught. The father wound in many cultures is inflicted directly by the father as a physical wound with a mythology and a mythos around it that provides context for the child. We don't necessarily have that in the West. We just had mom had a bad day. Dad was stressed out. Or you kids have it way better than I did. I believe generationally we're all moving towards doing better for our children than we perceive that we received from our parents. That's part of the human condition. I believe that just displays our need and our desire to love more in our lives. I believe children are benevolent narcissists. They are the center of their universe, and their universe is based on love. So from that perspective, they always want to help. One universal truth, and I love seeing it in the grandkids that I'm around, is the kids want to be helped. They want to do for you. The challenge can arise when a child receives a wound from a place of narcissistic benevolence and says, I'm causal in my universe. I must be responsible for this wound. And when the child takes on responsibility for the wound, two very troublesome false assumptions arise. One, I have the power to fix it. And two, I am responsible to fix it. This can create a personal mission. And we see this a lot, and politicians will talk about, when I was a kid, I was never going to have that happen to me again. And they move, and that becomes a direction of their life. It can lead to our calling. It can lead to something great. But it also can be very challenging when that wound is not resolved over and over and over. And the subconscious is trying to make it right, and it's not doable. A great summary of Buddhism for me is a guy named John DeMartini said this. He says, suffering is the desire for that which is unobtainable or the desire to avoid that which is unavoidable. And resolving the family wound as a child is unattainable. So it creates an impossible scenario for the child. And we go through our life and we reach our young adulthood. We start to reach maturity with these things in us, the lessons we've learned and our personal mission. And we head out into the world. Time to go, kid. Out you go. And we send them on their way. There's a lot of rituals around this sending on the way. One of them is the dropping off of kids at university. and I want to call on a friend of mine. Tell me quickly about what you did last week.
I dropped my son Ryder off in Fort Collins, Colorado, and the ritual there was a road trip. It was just this just recognition that he is not going. He's moving through a whole new place in life, and so ready for it. And by the time we were done, he was so ready for mom and dad to move on. Yeah, exactly. He was like, "You're cramping my space."
Beautiful.
And it was a wonderful feeling, actually, to be like, he's so ready for it that he wants us out of here, actually.
And you had lots of moments in there, packing the car, getting everything ready, packing supplies, outfitting the dorm room. You did all these things. And so here this young man is out in the world, earnest, excited, optimistic, and willing to take life on. And the thing about these transition points is they open up a new set of choices for us, and they close the door on an old set of choices. Whew. Just think about that for a minute. In my experience, often the longing for childhood is because those choices were simpler, less messy to navigate. But there we are out in the world, and we go, I'm going to meet life. I may get emotional today, just bear with me if I do. Lewis Carroll. The earnest young man goes out in the world. This is, for those of you who don't know who Luke Skywalker is, I don't know what planet you're on. But you're very creative if you've avoided it. We show up, and as children, when we receive these wounds and we take these parts of ourselves and we put them aside and we lock them down and we don't embrace them, what we've done is we've diminished our capacity because we're not 100% of ourself. We're some lesser percent. And the gifts and the skills and the powers of those parts are not accessible to us. So in the descent, oftentimes the heroine or the hero meets the challenge, but they're not 100% equipped for it. And so they have partial success, or they have a failure, or they receive a wounding again. In the case of Luke Skywalker, he went in this cave, and the cave, of course, always represents our shadow, always represents what's repressed. And what he found was in taking on his father, who he perceived to be an outside source of darkness, he discovered that he himself was part of that when he sees his face in his father's body. So we learn a truth in the descent. We may not be able to incorporate it at the time, but we learn a truth, and we're given a choice. Are we going to choose ourselves, or are we going to choose the mask we wear? We're going to choose ourselves, or we're going to choose the mask we wear. When we meet the abandoned parts of ourselves, can we welcome them? Or are we going to still stay in fear of them? Or are we still going to lock them down, hide away from them? That's the descent journey. From the descent, we get what we heard Bone Woman talk about as our guides. We've gone through some form of ordeal. The heroine has come out, doesn't feel very good, a little beat up. And all of a sudden, they realize, I need something more than what I've got with me to meet this challenge. And guides can show up. The classic one for me, because Clash of the Titans when I was a kid just blew my mind, even though it was claymation, is the story of Perseus and Medusa. The shield and sword he's given, I believe, are just those aspects of himself that he had abandoned. The power in them. Righteous violence. He's given weapons to slay something. He's given permission to go out and be a warrior in the world. In many rituals, spirit guides will show up, and they'll have an aspect to them. And one strong visualization that I was grateful to be part of, an eagle and a snake appeared to show me strength and to show me that there's medicine in my work. The snake is medicinal, and to take those on. And I met a very deeply abandoned part of myself in that ritual that day. That was actually little me on an altar. with my own heart cut out. And I got to embrace that child and love that child and care for that child and honor it. And that ritual was powerful. And this can be what happens with the gifts. The hero often has to go find them. We go to the temples, we go to the oracle, we go to the wise person, we go to the bone woman. We go somewhere and we say, hey, I need some help. The wise person in our society often has the name therapist on them. Anybody here visit a wise person? So I sought out a wise person, and he became one of the angels in my life. And he says, hey, there's this thing called breakthrough. And I was ready. My descent, I had been beat up. I'd been through like 3 descent cycles and nothing was working. And I didn't know why. When I got to breakthrough, I started to learn a couple of things. The first of which was, of course I am wounded. I'm a human being. The second of which is, there's no bad actors in that wounding, which is the harder truth. To really accept others, to really love others, started with getting to love myself. Could I unpack that? The wounding often ends in shame. Again, the narcissistic child, I'm responsible. Something's wrong with me. And in our culture, it's hard to talk about that because the dynamic between parents and children and our ritual of blame in Western culture, our ritual of shame in Western culture, our ritual of somebody has to be responsible and pay for your hurt, rather than what's the wisdom, what's the power you're gaining through that? I'm here with you. Yes, that's awful. And you're enough. Less affirmation, more victimization. That's a ritual I would love to see undone. So like Lancelot in Arthurian legends, I had my wound that would not heal, that I carried through my life with me, and I get to break through. And I'm saying, I don't feel deserving. And I was met with love and affirmation. I was met by older men who looked at me and affirmed me and esteemed me. And suddenly, the power of that simply changed. That somebody who I could respect and admire, somebody who I saw and loved, because as I get to know people, I love absolutely everyone. Human beings are amazing, by the way, every single one of them, even the ones we don't like, especially the ones we don't like. To receive that affirmation back, begin to crack that armor. And as I realized my inherent goodness hadn't gone away, I just had decided not to access it. I got to choose otherwise. And I learned some rituals at Breakthrough. These are 3 questions that we often ask in our meetings. I learned the wisdom of my body. This thing is amazing at what it remembers. And if we choose to listen to it, it can guide us right back to that essential wholeness that we have. And it can be scary because it can feel weird. See, we don't have a good relationship to the mystic in our culture either. It's part of what we lose when we lose ritual. So the mystic healing of my body. Understanding how old is that feeling? Did I choose, is this an adult feeling or is this my child feeling? Can inform me to then I know what I need to do inside of myself as a result of knowing how old this feeling is. Do I need to go back and give myself some parental love? Because at the end of the day, I'm the best guy to do that. And what can I affirm about myself? It is a ritual of affirmation. In Breakthrough, we call rituals practices and tools. Because if I'm running it out in the Coast Weekly and say life rituals for men, that's probably not going to fly as good as life tools for men. Because men love tools and don't know what the hell rituals are. This could be scary. There may be a feeling in there, and it doesn't work with the story yet. But the truth is, when you see a man fully in his feeling state, it's as beautiful as anything you're ever going to see. And when we allow women to show us their intellect, to show us their ability, their competency, their capability, without us saying automatically, I have to do for them, when we allow women their power, it's equally beautiful. And when we meet each other from those two places, miracles happen. But the hero's journey continues. Once we get our gifts, then we really go into the ordeal for real. Now as a person on the journey, I've got access to my shadow, I've got access to my tools. And for me, I'm being mindful of my time here this morning. The story I wanted to share with you is of stepping into leadership at Breakthrough. I had a completely different career track doing something absolutely 180 degrees from this with a dear friend of mine. And as I became involved in Breakthrough and I learned to teach it, and I got on the board of directors and I saw there was a need for an executive director, and I realized I was doing it already. And it didn't really make sense. But a calling will not often make sense. And so I chose in. And all the work I'd done kept my shadows at bay for about 6 weeks after I made the unchangeable decision. And then 3 in the morning, every dark thought I ever had came at me all at once. And I mean all at once, to the point where I couldn't even make toast for a couple of weeks. I was incompetent in everything, and I'm sure I'd ruined my life, and I'd ruined the life of people I love, and if I was going to be a miserable, poor wretch financially, like all these things, a strong sense of unworthiness. To the point where I was considering whether my highest value was my life insurance policy. And so what I did was I used the rituals I got at Breakthrough. I used the rituals of affirmation. I used the rituals of esteeming. I called for support. Because I was no longer ashamed to say I need help, I called for professional support. And it ended when I actually called for a mystic ritual. And I asked 4 men who were elders to me to come together and hear me declare that I'm owning my life. I'm choosing it, and that I'm enough for everything that comes my way as a result of it. I literally did a rite of passage into manhood because I'd never had one. So here I am in middle age, standing up and saying, I'm choosing this, and whatever comes, I'm okay. And this is the surrender that happens in the ordeal, where the hero and the heroine say, with all my faults and with all my gifts, I'm going to give everything I have to meet this moment, regardless of the outcome, because that's what I'm here to do. There's my timer. I love it. Yeah, I know. It's beautiful, though, really. Yeah. Boom. At the end of the hero's journey is the return. And the return is where we now have access to all of our gifts. We now have the wisdom of the ordeal. We now have the wisdom of experience, because the ordeal gives us experiential learning of who we are and what our capability is. And upon the return, the hero now gets to give his gifts to community. Choosing into that is my invitation to all of you. Whatever the call is in your heart, now you're creative, so I assume a lot of you are already doing it, which is rad. But if there's something left in you, if there's a voice saying, hey, pay attention to me, it would be amazing. Give it an ear and step in. The gifts you will find for yourself in there may just surprise and empower you in ways you never knew. And with that, Mike, I think I'm right on time. With only like 5 slides left.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing before we step off?
Yeah. No, don't step up. Stay
Okay.
up here, but yes.
So, as I found my calling and I did my work, I came up with a personal statement of purpose. And this is my statement of purpose. That I create a world of loving self-acceptance by sharing my truth and vulnerability. So with all of you, share your truths. Be vulnerable. Let people see who you are. You are all a gift. That's it. Everything?
Stay up.
I'll stand here with you.
My mission, I co-create a world of loving culture by giving my bliss away. Arnold, it makes me really happy to
Yes,
have you
you
up
do.
here because now these people know how special we are on the Monterey Peninsula to have the Breakthrough for Men community.
Yeah.
It's not every community that has a group like this helping men do their work. I want to just say a little bit about that, say some things that Arnold might not be able to say about his own group because he's in it, and because I know some things about this work. Some things can only be done in a group. Am I right? Some things you can only be held by other people and you can't hold yourself or by one person. I call those containers. And those containers can help you get to a level of sensation. And when the body gets to a sensation and out of the mind, below the heart, is where we grew up. And we can find our adaptations and look at them and not be so afraid of them and be held in the fear and see them. And that's the container that this group has built and is inviting you to attend. So if there's a man in your life, or if you're a man who seeks that type of container, we're going to make it really easy for you. And we're going to pass out, Mark's going to pass out some Stay Connected forms. And you just sign up. Sign up to his list and you'll get a notification about his Arnold's next opening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing. And the other thing is, how many of you noticed all the music changes for the past hour, moment by moment? I knew he was good. I knew he could do this, but man, I didn't know what you were going to show up with. George is a genius. Am I right? Oh my God, please come back.
Oh, bro, listen, I live here. It's fine.
Let's put the camera on him for a moment. I'm going to say some nice things, some more nice things.
Hit me, man.
George Woods is inviting this community to attend a songwriting workshop. It is many weeks long that he's going to say more about. But this is an invitation for you to get poetic and musical in ways that you might not ever have been before. But him and his partner are doing amazing things, and they might be our next speaker. Unconfirmed. We have to work out a few details with schedule with Heather, but he's going to tell you just briefly about that.
So on September 30th, I'm teaching a songwriting workshop. I'm a guitar player, obviously I do this whole thing. But the biggest thing about songwriting, you don't have to be a great singer, you don't have to be a great musician, guitar player, anything like that. Songwriting is accessible to all human beings, right? And what we primarily study, and I think that the background music kind of shows it off a little bit, we study how music affects human beings and how you can take your words and make them mean more by the right context, by the right note, by the right chord. And it's 10 weeks long, and I'll teach you all the same stuff that I teach in college. I teach songwriting at the college level. I still teach back in Boston, actually. And yeah, it's September 30th. It's going to be at Wendy Kirby's space on Hartnell Street, and you can go to MontereySongSchool.com to find out more about it. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you, George.
Yes, sir.
So for this next bit, Arnold's going to join me up here, and we're going to do something a little special. We're going to make this a tradition or a ritual that we do at the end of every Creative Mornings, if you're willing. What are you doing?
You're a bunny. You're a bunny. That's all.
I'm glad you could be fun.
Remember my first slide?
I'm nervous today, but I'm okay because I have new shoes and my favorite socks.
And you're a beautiful man.
Let me see the socks.
Yeah, I need to get an insert of that later.
Everybody, at Breakthrough, we do this thing for guys to help them out, where we send them love while they're talking. We just give them the I love you symbol. Anybody who wants to show that to Mike right now, just let him know.
Yeah.
Let me get a clip of this. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. So another thing I want to capture is your biggest takeaway from today's talk, from the whole thing. If you'd be willing, stand up and say a few words about what your biggest takeaway. Less than 15 seconds, short and concise.
My takeaway today is how we can heal through the power of support in a group. That is huge, to be in a group, supportive group, and heal with that.
My takeaway is just a recollection that when I did Breakthrough in 2013 and 14 and 15, it just brought me to a level of understanding myself that not only made me stronger as a person and more resilient, but it made me a better dad.
At the center of all of it is love.
I wish I was a man.
Aww.
Oh, okay, there's the thing. But I do have a lot of men in my life, so for that I'm grateful. 2 sons, husband. Yeah.
Let's hear from a few more.
I'm in the middle of Breakthrough right now, and I can tell you for a fact that it is every single thing that I thought I could learn on my own. I could, but Breakthrough filled in every single little gap, and just being there in community with other men made me not feel insane or isolated. And it's continues to be an incredibly powerful source in my life. So that's the truth.
Thanks, George.
Okay.
So I grew up just with a mom. I did not grow up with a father. So my whole life it was, just keep your feelings inside, focus on work, on your siblings, and move forward. So this new group and it's cool to have because I have no way to show my emotions. Right. Last time I cried, it was probably like 2 years ago. So this is new to me. So I'm happy that I came, and I'm definitely want to check it out more. Yeah.
Yeah, my takeaway is that I thought the hero's journey was just for special people. I'm glad to know it's for me as well.
Yeah, man.
You are special.
You are special.
Community Spotlight, you've heard one announcement. We've got another one coming up. I'm going to invite Lawrence Rope to come up on the stage. But before we do, we're going to show you a trailer to a new movie that I've been working on for a couple years. It's a wildlife documentary called Condor Canyon, and you're the first to see the trailer.
From the Ventana Wildlife Society, the guardians restoring California condors to their natural habitat, comes a tale of resilience and hope. This is the true story of Condor 171, known as Traveler, who battles the devastating effects of the pesticide DDT and lead poisoning, while her mate, Shadow, struggles to maintain his dominance over the flock. Experience for the first time in stunning ultra-high definition California condors like you've never seen them before. A true story of beauty, boldness, and the close bonds of a family of condors struggling together against near insurmountable odds. Condor Canyon, where every feather tells a story and hope takes flight.
Okay. So I'm going to invite a special organizer in our community who's going to tell you about a return of a film festival coming to Carmel. Lawrence, come on up here. He's going to talk for about 1.5 minutes, maybe 2.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Lawrence Rock. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a retired movie director. I worked for Clint Eastwood and Dina Eastwood for 12 years. When I decided to quit to make my first movie, the Eastwood said, well, we're not going to pay for it, but we'd like to be involved. So that led to The Forger, which was Lauren Bacall's last movie, which is an art forgery movie set in Carmel by the sea. It's still available on streaming networks. And then I went to Canada with Scott Eastwood and made Diablo, which is Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's youngest son. It's his first Western, and it's out on Apple Plus. Then I moved to LA to produce my third movie with my lovely girlfriend and producer, Annette Anderson. She worked for The Simpsons TV show for many years and was the assistant to the creator, Matt Groening. So when the pandemic hit, she woke up one morning and said, hey, honey, I can smell the cop cars burning. Can we go to Carmel for the weekend? And this was during the riots. And I simply said, let's move back to Carmel. So Annette, my lovely producer and girlfriend, and I decided to take on the Carmel International Film Festival. So I thought, well, let's get everybody together. Let's start having these events. And let's put something together that was a celebration of our community and was supportive of the independent filmmakers in the area. So I'm very proud to announce we have 2 days of festival, October 5th and 6th, that are coming in about a month and a week. The festival is going to take place at the newly renovated Golden Bough Theater. It's our beautiful historic theater in Carmel. There are going to be some great movies. It starts off on Saturday morning with your movie, the Condor film.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then we've got, we're excited.
I'm excited.
And Michael you created a 5.1 surround sound.
Surround sound, yeah.
Beautiful. So we can hear
and everything.
We can hear the birds from all directions. Wonderful. Yeah. I just walked in this morning and got a feel for the whole vibe. And I feel this group has a lot of authenticity and a lot of care about truth. And the real truth I wanted to show people with this festival is that celebrity is not important. It's our community, it's the people, it's the film, it's the messages, it's people like Michael taking a stand for our nature, and it's those representations of positive filmmaking in our community that I think really adds to the fabric of this place and also allows us to celebrate it on a world-class scale. Everything that happens on the Monterey Peninsula eventually finds itself into the media, as you've noticed, and we have some incredible filmmakers here. And I just encourage all of you to check out the Carmel International Film Festival, October 5th and 6th. We kept it very reasonable. It's $45 per day or $80 for the whole weekend. That includes all the parties, everything coming in, and any freebies or anything that come from the event, goodie bags and that sort of thing. So we're really trying to be generous to the community. So I really do hope you all come and support. I look forward to meeting all of you and celebrate our community and the filmmakers in it. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to close it down. Okay. Ritual might take a little bit of extra effort, a little mindfulness, but on the other side, there's a lot to win and a lot to gain. Hope you all learned something at Creative Mornings, and I'll see you September 27th. Thank you very much.